Coming up a bit later, we're going to have our inspiring Padres High School Coach of the Week. But we begin with the Challenged Athletes Foundation. It's an organization based right here in San Diego that helps people of all ages from all around the world regain their ability to compete. The stories of the athletes are remarkable, and so too is the story of how the foundation began.
Everything for us started with Jim MacLaren. He was a 300-pound football player at Yale. And in 1985, he was in New York City going to acting classes on his motorcycle. And a New York City bus hit his motorcycle, threw him 90 feet in the air, dead on arrival. They chalked his body on the ground. He lived, lost his lower left leg in the accident, and reinvented himself.
And Jimmy took the sport of triathlons to try and get his life back in order. In 1992, he did his first Ironman.
And Jimmy went 10 hours and 42 minutes at the Ironman World Championship, which is top 20% of everybody in the race. So it wasn't about some challenged athlete guy participating. It was a challenged athlete guy kicking butt and taking names and showing that if you gave him a piece of equipment, he could compete on a level playing field. So flash ahead 8 years, Jimmy's racing in Mission Viejo, and a van goes through a closed intersection, hits the back of his bike, propels him headfirst into a pole, and he becomes a quadriplegic.
He really needed a significant amount of money to buy a adaptive motor vehicle. He had a little bit of movement still in his hands.
So myself, Jeffrey Esikow, and Rick Kozlowski, three friends here in San Diego, decided we're going to put on a little triathlon at La Jolla Cove, and we're going to raise $25,000 to buy Jimmy a van that has hand controls to give him that independence. That was it. That's what we wanted to do.
We had 22 people who showed up for the event. We each kicked in a couple $100 each for entry fees. We got some corporate sponsorship, did the event, everybody finished, and we ended up raising $49,000. Mission accomplished, right?
Thought our job was done. Three of the amputee women who participated in the race came up to us afterwards and said, you know, Jimmy's the reason we got into endurance sports. But did you know if you get injured, your health insurance will cover a walking around leg or an everyday wheelchair. But anything to do with sports is considered a luxury item. It's not covered by your insurance, which we had no idea.
And so the mission and our vision statement started unfolding, which was we want to help people get back into the game of life through sport.
So our goal became to start the Challenged Athletes Foundation. And if anybody needed a piece of equipment, training, or travel to stay in a game of life through sports, that we'd be there.
We believe that through sports, you gain independence, you gain self-esteem. And so the foundation, back 25 years ago, started unfolding.
In our first 25 years, we've sent out 23,000 grants. We've raised over $95 million. Just this year, we sent out 2,806 grants, totaling $4.3 million to athletes in 40 countries, 48 states for 95 different sports.
The role we want to continue playing is to be the spokesperson, to be the voice, to be the eyes and the ears for our challenged athletes so that they know that they have a body and an organization and a group of people that will constantly be fighting for them to make sure that we can continue providing them the needs to continue being independent.
Dr. Brian Solberg volunteers at the Challenged Athletes Foundation as often as possible. It's his way of helping give back to the organization that helped him find a new life after a spinal cord injury changed everything he knew.
Of course, you lose your job as an anesthesiologist because your hands don't work. A friend of mine took me down to the San Diego Triathlon Challenge back in 2002, rolled me out of the car. It was a pretty dark place at that time. We were very sad. You're wondering, why me? And seeing all the things that went on that day, people with no arms, no legs, kids in wheelchairs, I said to myself, why can't I do this too? And it got me off the couch. That day changed my life and helped me bring my identity back.
He was so inspired, he took immediate, life-changing action.
I actually picked up the laminated map for the half marathon. Came back the next morning, Monday morning, by myself. And it took me over 8 hours, walked the half marathon course with my braces, my leg braces, and my canes.
That was just the beginning of a lifestyle that is much more active than before the injury.
Through their help and coaching me and supporting me, I've done 3 half Ironman, 111 marathons on foot. That's will be my 17th STTC.
James Saw was injured in a mud run in 2011. He found the Challenge Athletes Foundation through a friend whose wife was working there.
It brought me from one of the lowest points in my life and provided a path for me to build myself up.
James discovered that he loved the hard-hitting sport of wheelchair rugby that requires a specialized chair that can endure quite a pounding. Challenged athletes stepped in to help.
I was able to afford a rugby chair through a grant, which would have been a complete pipe dream considering the medical bills and whatnot that were, putting financial pressure on my family. And through that, I was able to really begin my life rehabilitation.
With a deep understanding of how it changes lives, James joined the staff of the Challenged Athletes Foundation.
Call a support group, a sports team, and call a meeting, a practice, and people will show up and they'll come out. And, you have fun, you make friends, you build solidarity.
James Saw and Brian Solberg are just two examples of how the Challenged Athletes Foundation rejuvenates lives, leading some in dark places to much brighter days ahead.
Up next for me personally is I'm looking at trying to figure out how I'm going to do 100 miles, because that's the next goal in the ultramarathon world.
Most people are looking for that solidarity, they're looking for that companionship, they're looking for the encouragement and the support, and all of a sudden they realize they're not alone.
Up next, what the Challenged Athletes Foundation is doing for youth. Stay tuned as Inside San Diego Sports continues.
They can run just as fast, jump just as high, and it changes their perception of themselves.